What is up, everyone? I am here with the one and only Pixel Trader. Dude, this guy has been a digital collector for the past 10 years. He's part of the Miles High Club. He's always been a big dog around me. He's a huge collector. And, we've always been chatting about, when are we going to have an interview? And so we're like, let's just finally do it. Let's chat. Let's have a discussion about the Veveverse. So what is up, big guy? How are you doing, man?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor. And actually, just before this, I was watching your very first YouTube video with your brother talking about Todd, and I'm sure time flies. So always looking forward to your stuff. And actually, I was also rewatching your Silicon Secure one, which was a great video and good memories there. But yeah, it's a pleasure to finally be on here, and there's a lot to talk about, and hopefully, I can share some cool stuff with your community. And yeah, it's really fun.
Dude, that's amazing, man. I appreciate you being here today. It's so crazy to think that when we first started the channel, we did it purely out of passion. Like I didn't even think about it being like anything, We were just like, Todd could be something.
It's you and your brother on your couch talking about FAs and Todd and VeVe. Yeah.
I know. If only we just kind of like kept to our guns a little bit more. Like we were so speculative, but a lot of things we were saying were accurate, at least for a point in time.
Yeah.
But if we just like held our bags, man, till the perfect time, oh, it would have been a good day.
Yeah, and that's kind of the fun of speculative markets, right? Is that it's high risk, high reward, and I think you learn something no matter what, whether it pans out as good as you thought or not. Sometimes you're early, and sometimes you're really, really early. So, but that's kind of the fun of it. I really enjoy emerging markets and speculative kind of stuff like this, and that's why this has been so much fun being part of VeVe and just kind of Web3 in general.
Yeah, that's true. You've been around the block. I mean, I guess like you've kind of seen these markets go up and down, catastrophically and euphorically. And so I'm sure, like you said, like you're used to the big swings. How's that been for you now with like VeVe, having this insane, massive trajectory upwards, and then now it's like, if you look at Todd, I think it started off at like 80 gems, went to like 14,000, now it's like
Yeah.
325.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of fun to see the different stories versus, I mean, think about the people who were here at the very beginning, like Silicon and others who were buying as many as they could off the store, and the app was buggy and crashing, and there wasn't really any future guaranteed or roadmap. And so it's fun to kind of see, how things have moved over time. But I think what might have helped me a little bit is I do have a background in traditional investments and stocks and things like that. And so I'm kind of used to the volatility, and you get used to what's real, what's noise, kind of managing, risk in general. And, but every now and then you see something, like I was pretty early into Tesla and Nvidia and these other things. And it's not fun when it's down. It's brutal. But, if you have conviction and you're willing to stick it out, sometimes it can pay off really big. And I kind of felt that with VeVe of, this is a really cool thing. If it takes off and does well, maybe it's not on my timeline or when I want it to, but it's hard to not imagine a future where things just keep going digital. And I'm sure you grew up on video games and your kids are more into digital, and it seems almost inevitable at some point that it's just, yeah, it's going to be everywhere.
Dude, that's so well said, man. And I love what you're saying about staying convicted, because like if I look at even like, the Miles Morales, right, that you have in your profile pic right now, it's like first appearance, only 250 editions, only what is it, like 160 available to the public. It's like, could be the next generation character. I mean, Spider-Man's the most popular in
Yeah.
58 countries. So you're just like, okay, there's only a limited supply of these. Their first appearance, these are the digital collecting realm's only going to get bigger. So like you said, if you're, despite what the market value is telling you, if you understand like the principles and what the potential is, then like, you could stay here and you could endure the bear market and endure all the developments and, all the FUD.
Yeah, and I
So it's
think
just
you're right
cool.
about, there's a difference between value and price, right? So, and even in the physical collecting, if you look at some of the grails, some of the 9.8s and 10.0s are down 50-60% in down markets, and those are the best of the best, right? There's nothing guaranteeing those just only go up. So I think I've always kind of separated VeVe collecting as far as some things are definitely for investing, and I want to hold these long term or pass them on to my kids. Omi's kind of a separate play as well, but they're connected. But I think you're right, is that everyone likes the idea of being early or collecting things when they were low, but it's a lot harder to do that, right? Everyone knows buy low, sell high. But like to do that is a completely different thing, right? When it's feels like it's the end of the world. But I think we're in this unique situation where, like you said, there's all these FAs. They're at prices people, would have died for a couple years ago. A lot is changing in the landscape, especially in the US with crypto and digital assets. So it's to me, it's an exciting time, and I'm not, expecting anything specifically, but it's hard to, again, imagine where things don't just continue to grow over time.
Right, right. It's so true, man. Like I look at it like, at the peak of the party that you went to with your friends, that's the hardest time to leave, You've got all these girls talking to you, like the shots are coming out, you're just about to get food and you're like, see you later. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how investing works. It's like that's literally when you have to be like, okay, like when everybody is so amazed with what I have and everyone's so into this kind of stuff, that's when you have to like kind of like leave before, in a sense, in terms of like just purely financial. But what I find interesting now is like the community that's here have gone through the trials and tribulations, and they seem like people that are like, here for the long run, like they see the
Yeah.
long-term vision. What's been your take on that? So like right now, like do you see like do you have a lot of friends in here? Like has it kind of developed like that for you?
You're right. I think VeVe's been unique in the fact that it brought a lot of people into crypto. Like this was their first time buying an NFTs, their first time buying it, OMI. And I think it was a great way to introduce people into the world. And some people came in at the peak, and that was just kind of bad luck that, they bought things a lot higher than they are now. But that's just markets. That's pretty much everything. I was buying OpenSea stuff that, was worth 1 ETH, and I go back later, it's worth nothing. And, developers are ditching and rugging and jump into the next thing. So it's not a VeVe specific thing to see prices down and kind of feel bad. But I also kind of fell in love with not just the IP and the fandoms, but the community honestly is amazing and top notch. And Silicon actually was one of the first people who hosted a space with me, and he treated me like his best friend for life. He's never met me. We've never even talked before. He just treated me like, my buddy, and just was completely happy to host a space with me and talk. And he stayed up there for hours, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just kind of, shooting the stuff with people. And, I was just like, wow, people here are really cool. And sure enough, you meet more people and more people. And the community is amazing. And that's one thing, being involved in so many other projects, it's just like VeVe continues to kind of stand out, not just the IP and, all the drops, but the community, the connections, the friendship. I think it's cool that, someone lands something great on a drop and other people celebrate with you. There's no jealousy or anger. But
yeah,
it's unique because it's cool to buy something low, whether it's a stock or crypto, and someone is higher. But I think these are unique because these are digital items. They're digital collectibles. So to sell an AF15 when it goes up a lot is going to be a lot harder than just selling, a ticker symbol. It's a different thing because you actually own that digital item when you can put it in your showcase, your Veveverse, or save it for your kids. And to me, it's a different way of collecting versus just, trading assets like typical stocks or crypto.
right. It's a lot more fun. It's like an added element. You can do so much with it. Like I hear
Yeah,
you,
it's a very
man.
personal thing, right? So if I told you right now,
Yeah,
how much would it take to sell your miles? You'd be like, oh, I don't know, man. Like it's different than just like this thing did a 10x sell it. You'd be like, okay, it's gone. I got rid of it, right?
right.
But yeah, the community is extremely kind and passionate, and I think that's going to be definitely its asset going forward because collectors, we can talk about kind of gaming assets and other things that I've been involved with different markets, and it's kind of a different breed, and it has its own life that kind of comes out of the community over time, which is I think VeVe's going to kind of see what I've seen in gaming. Because it's actually been around for quite a while, gaming assets, and not just like Fortnite where you buy a skin and you own it. I'm talking about assets you buy them, you can trade them, you can sell them for cash, you can buy other games cross-reference. So I'm excited to see what happens to VeVe, but I think there's going to be some traits that I'm seeing already happening in VeVe, whether it's collecting special mint numbers or OG stuff or season 1 stuff or exclusive things, just low mint items. Those are the things that kind of push to the top. And I think long term, if you are kind of hoping, to see this kind of as an investment or, make some good money in the future, you have to really be picky and look for those gems because there's just going to be a lot of stuff. We're already seeing there's a lot of drops.
Right. Man, I love all the insight you're bringing here. Like, totally agree with you in terms of being selective, looking for those gems. I mean, we see the common day practice of that now with comic books and $2 bins, and
Yeah.
people thought all these things were going to be amazing. I was interested though because I know you have quite a background as well in like the gaming side of things. Maybe we can kind of like dance in that arena more because I'm curious to
Yeah,
like
sure.
understand kind of like what you're already seeing in terms of like the value proposition with, because like you said, you're seeing like, you know, people buying things like they, let's get a gun to a level 100 and then they sell it off.
Hmm.
And it's not even technically like an NFT, it's just like a digital item at that point, but it's like useful for somebody else. And so like how do you kind of see that evolving potentially for VeVe? Like is that maybe not the gaming component, but maybe the same principles in terms of like the value proposition, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right, because gaming might have been what introduced it to people, when people, like you said, were upgrading World of Warcraft accounts and selling them off, or they were buying, digital hats and skins and costumes and selling them. For some of these games like Counter Strike, Dota, Team Fortress 2, you can get cases and keys and open them up, and it's kind of like a drop on VeVe where you get lucky, you get something extremely rare, you can sell it for more money or trade it to other people. And I think that kind of, yeah, you're right. None of those are NFTs per se. According to their terms of service, at any time they could take them away, or you get caught cheating or doing something illegal, they can lock you out. So you don't technically own anything, and they are just digital items on their servers. But that doesn't stop people from spending a ton of money on there, like a ton of money. I think the number one CS Counter Strike sale so far still is around $1 million. Before that, it was around $500,000. In Team Fortress 2, there's massive sales all the time happening. In Dota, there's constantly these huge markets that have actually, I believe I started doing, these are all Steam games, by the way, but they cross with other games. It's been over 10 or 11 years now. These have been out there, and there's these, large thriving markets of all just digital goods that people buy and sell in between each other. So I do kind of see some of those patterns. It makes sense, right? To see someone that's used to spending a lot of money or collecting stuff digitally, whether it's hats, skins, cosmetics, unusual effects, to jump into collecting FA Batman or FA Todd or FA, Spider-Man.
Right. Wow. That is so fascinating. Like to think people are spending like over $1 million on something that's not even technically like, you own it. You're just like if your game breaks down, or like, your username just, I don't know, gets hacked or something. It's just amazing. Like the level of involvement that people are willing to take. So I think that's like really interesting, because we keep thinking that this whole market that we're in is exceptionally niche. Like you always hear like, oh, like it's collectors, it's digital, it's like licensed, there's still interoperability things that we don't necessarily have yet. And so the people kind of like almost like tone it down but when you start thinking about like the conviction, or like what we were talking about earlier, or just all the people that are already invested into this largely from a gaming perspective, it doesn't seem like that far away for us if like the right recipe is there, or the right attention.
Yeah, and especially, VeVe's great because we have these IP. There's a lot of nostalgia, and it makes you feel like a kid again. You can get the first appearance of, someone on a comic, and these things that just weren't available or physically are just so incredibly scarce. This is kind of your only other way to relive that or have a part of that history. And, looking at like the digital markets for other games and assets, they definitely kind of take a life of their own, and the community will find a way of, here's what's popular, here's what's hot, here's what's not. And I've seen that in other games where things that worth $20 ended up being worth $500, and then 5 years later it's worth $5,000, and then now there's none for sale ever, and you got to find a guy to get, like, those things happen with things that are really exclusive or rare. And I do think that being on the blockchain is pretty cool, because you can look at the history, and I think there will be things early on, and right now the only thing you can kind of really do to differentiate your items is get a good mint number, like a super low mint, or number 100, or 1 2 3 4 5, or something related to the owner birthday or something. But I think what we have seen in other video games is people do care about the history of items, and people, I think, call them now virgin items or something like that, or short history. But I think that's going to be something that if you want a, let's say, a partners on drop, and you haven't sold that thing for 9 years, the first next sale, they might ask for a premium on that. And there's people that will pay a premium to have something that has never been touched before. Even though it's a digital item, it is a real thing. Now, it doesn't really cross all, usually this is like the more higher tier items, people willing to pay a premium. Also, if someone famous owned it before you, like a public figure, and VeVe definitely has a good amount of, whether they're celebrities, pro athletes, public figures that are kind of just sitting low key and hanging out behind the scenes. You wouldn't really know they're there. but they are there. Or if you want to get something, you know, from David Yu, maybe you bought it off him from, you know, in-person event. I mean, I think all those things will kind of be a way to differentiate your items aside from just, you know, mint numbers, things like that.
That's so cool. That's so wise. It's so interesting because I was literally going to ask you those two things. I was going to be like, oh, what about Virgin? And you already took it away, man. So yeah, so I mean, that's fascinating because like, you know, comics and crypto came out with like kind of like looking at low mint numbers as if they were like a high graded comic. Like they
I
kind of
remember
try
that.
to make
Yeah.
that association. I mean, I think it was like, you know, an awesome insight from them and the way to approach it. But I'm still so unsure of how this is going to develop. What I found was interesting is that when we were in the hype and like you were talking about the how to differentiate yourself, I noticed people that would literally sell their wallet for like 20K to like go up like 200 mint numbers. Like it would be like selling like a 500 mint wallet, let's say, to like number 321, and they would
Yeah.
literally like, you know, for not even like a might not even been 321, like it could have been just like 327 or like something that was just so random. But it was just the fact that they were going down because people, like you said, are trying to stand out when there's such a high concentration of interest. Um, and what I love about that is we've seen what the market looks like when there is like such high demand.
Yeah.
Um, and so you can already apply those principles now to the stuff in the app, right? Like if you see a crazy mint Darth Vader that like nobody really cares about, number 400, like you know that if you're buying it at the floor, there's a good chance when things get, you know, exciting again, that that would be interesting to somebody, you know. So I love that you brought that up because it's important, you know.
Yeah, and actually, if I had to think of what's kind of been withstanding the lows in the markets and the ups and downs, there are a handful of things that have done well. I think Miles Secret Rare is actually the only one I can think of that has like consistently gone up in price and never had a bull run. But
Right.
special mints as well. I still see special mints selling for 100, 200, 300 times the floor, you know, regardless of, you
Mm,
know, the floor price of whatever it is, which is a great sign that, you know. And I think sometimes it's easy to think that, you know, we need millions of users and we need this enormous, you know, a pool of people to get prices to go up. You don't. I mean, even in, you know, physical comics and other collectibles, they don't have, you know, these massive communities. They're big enough to have kind of a critical mass. But if you have enough whales or hardcore collectors, I mean, that's sometimes all you need. You don't need this, you know, you know, immense pool of people.
mm,
I do think it'd be good to grow the user base. Of course, you want people to go in there, but I've always tried to see it as the difference of VeVe. What's in the best interest of VeVe? Because they're a company, they got to drop a lot of stuff,
yeah.
constantly expand their, you know, the brand and their reach and their IP. But as someone who's collecting, if you are looking, you know, to make some money or do well in the future, again, you have to be really picky and find those kind of gems. And actually, recently I posted something on Twitter about, you know, some of the why these items are special and kind of combining things that are at low prices that are, you know, single item sets. They're FAs. A lot of them are secret rares. They're like 15 to
Mm,
20 bucks. So you kind of get a good, you know, bang for your buck versus something else that might be 20 or 30 bucks. That's not FA. It's part of a, you know, multi-item set. Don't get a lot of MCP. So, you know, there's ways out there to kind of spend your money wisely. And I think too, like you said, when things, when money's flowing, people start spending, you know, it's easier to get into more speculative assets when everything's just flowing. You know, every day you look at your stocks and crypto and it's up and up and up and up. And all of a sudden it's like, well, that VeVe thing's not looking so expensive anymore, right? So, and I think too, once that happens, people will start
mm.
holding on to the things more tightly that they would have let go because things, you know, are just currently down. But yeah, special mint numbers have continued to be strong, which has really impressed me, and that's actually a great sign of kind of the hardcore collectors that are here and will probably remain here.
Yeah. And do you think there's like a kind of a perfect recipe or balance for the like MCP versus like collecting like grail items? Because on one hand, if you have like a really big MCP, you know, a lot of MCP points, and you have like a ton of in your collection, um, you know, even though that kind of satisfies VeVe's needs more because like you're collecting all the stuff that, you know, technically, quote unquote, sorry to apologize to anybody that's huge on this, but maybe doesn't matter as much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, do you think that then those MCP points would come in handy for like maybe like landing a drop that like has something super rare? But I personally, dude, think that VeVe has dropped so much gold already that like you don't necessarily need to be holding pennies to get more gold. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
already out there. That's my opinion. because I'm just like, like so many FAs have dropped of huge characters. Like, I mean, I know they're going into new verticals now, like music and things like that, but I'm like, at the end of the day, like, I don't know. That's just my take. Like, I feel like hit grails. I don't know.
Yeah, if you just kind of browse through the market once in a while, you'll see an FA of something like whatever, Little Mermaid or something, or Woody or
Yeah.
some other popular character, and you're like, how much? Really, is that cheap? But I think we're kind of spoiled because we have so much amazing IP and fandoms that we're just used to it. I mean, it's definitely a crypto thing. I think to you quickly get over stuff like great, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, which is
Yeah.
just people kind of have short term memory. But there's a lot of amazing things already on the app, like you said. So if you were coming into this and you were new to it, spending 10-15 bucks here to grab all these cool FAs, it's not a big ask. I do think, if you're gonna look to collect the grails, that you have to kind of be more thought provoking and what you want to see long term, because so in the holy grail of video games, it's kind of a combination of extremely scarce. Sometimes the item is like glitched or broken, and that's why it's scarce, right? It's kind of like a PSA that was broken, and they found two pieces and put it together, and it's like a one of one or something. Extremely short history, like maybe one owner has ever had it, or a famous person like developer of the game owned it or had it. And it's like a special number. So if you can get that in VeVe, say it's Secret of Miles Morales, the lowest public mint, you're the only owner, you've never sold it ever, and then whatever time in the future you sell that, I mean, that checks every single box of being a really, really exclusive grail. And I think they're going to have more of those. I mean, we're seeing these artist works, these one of ones are amazing, they're going for a lot of money. These really exclusive fidgetals now that they're dropping that have like one of one matches or really, really low mints. So I think, yeah, again, it's kind of VeVe's going to do their thing and drop a lot of cool stuff. So collectors will be happy, or people just looking to enjoy them in AR or the Veveverse, or share them with their kids. But I think there's going to be its own separate market that the people will create of like what is extremely valuable. And those are the things you're going to probably look back later and wish, you bought more of them.
Oh man, I'm loving this conversation because you got me thinking now about like all the grails that are being unnoticed, because we had so much hype before so people could like identify what they were, but now like even like I mean, maybe this is not like a huge grail, but like that gambit with all the cards, like it just looked incredible, right? And I'm like, man, like it's still like pretty affordable, right? And I'm like, wow, like so I'm just in my head, I'm like thinking like, okay, what are all the other things on the app currently that people aren't paying attention to? Like, is there things that you're like eyeing that you're like, oh, I feel like this could be big?
Yeah, there's a lot of the newer drops because VeVe over time has listened to the community, which I think is great. And the mint numbers or the edition sizes have gotten lower and lower and lower and lower. So there's certain things out there where you're looking at a comic and like there's 3,000 total comics of this, right? Not 30,000, 3,000 total. Or yeah, certain collectibles that you're like, the mints are just so low on some of these. Yeah, I like some of them that are exclusives, like the self-made is a really low mint exclusive one that kind of has a soft spot with me, and kind of the theme of being a self-made person. That's the Brett Crawford one. Obviously, I'm really particular to Miles. I think Miles, I would have probably went for it anyways, but I actually won Miles on the drop, so that kind of has a special spot for me, the Miles SR.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, and I remember when it happened, seeing people just like, I have to have this, and they spend whatever it took to get it, and that's kind of the power of those grails or special items, is people will spend whatever it takes to get it. Like they just have to have it because it's that scarce and that big. But yeah, I mean, and I think too, it's sometimes I think like it wouldn't take that much for people to sweep some of these floors or just do a lot of damage, because sometimes we'll look at a comic, say X-Men 97 common, or an FA of like a character that dropped more recently, and I'm looking like, for $500, you could buy a lot of these, or $5,000. And the thing is, I think when crypto takes off and people are just looking at just money printing every day in their accounts, it doesn't look so crazy to spend 10 grand on one item and just buy a huge supply of them. So that's the thing too, is that it might look different now, but there's things that are newer, that haven't had a bull run, that have low editions, that are FA, and the quality is amazing. They look really, really good. And it's easy to look over those now, but there might be some trends. There might be some person that just says, I'm just buying up all of these, and they sets the trend for, and then people got to chase them to get those. But yeah, VeVe's been evolving a lot of ways, and I think you're right. There's always an opportunity, whether you're here early or in the middle or more later. There's always going to be stuff and opportunities like, what's the play? What can I go after? What can I make a good decision on. So there's some things I'm holding really, really long term. There's some things I'm looking, to get and flip. There's some things I'm looking to, just going to have them no matter what happens to the price. But yeah, the cool thing is that the people will decide. I mean, VeVe can kind of, affect the drop price and the edition size, but overall the community will decide what's important, what's special, and how much people are going to pay for it.
Man, you nailed it, man. Like the power of our community is what's like holding everything together here too, right? And I'm like
Yeah.
so happy because VeVe, like with the addition of Ben, now I just feel as though like he was the right person to kind of like just steer things back on track and like get shit done. And like I'll be honest, I haven't really like looked into the Veveverse that much. I haven't looked into like the affiliate program that much, and like I'm kind of just like getting my feet back into it. But it's like I'm excited because I feel like a lot of the soon talk is now like actually happening. Like it's like there's execution. And despite some of like, the app being slow or maybe the Veveverse not being perfect or whatever it is, I'm just so happy that they're starting it rather than just like, waiting for perfection, right?
Yeah, and I think they are listening to feedback. To be fair, when the first big app rehaul came out, I wasn't super happy with it, and I sent them quite a lot of feedback. And they addressed almost everything I sent, like almost everything. And I talked about the market button and the UI and this and all these little things here and making it easier for people to collect and find stuff. And they addressed a lot of them. I'm trying to think of a couple off the top of my head. Some of them are pretty straightforward, like the market button and the size of the comics and certain things were a little bit small. One of them was searching. It was difficult to search. I had to retype things, the navigation buttons, and they were on top of it. They took it to heart and acted quickly. And I think you're right. We went kind of from this soon. It kind of became a joke to things are being delivered out of nowhere when no one expects it. I mean, even just recently we got Comic Burns, Veveverse public release. We have the affiliate program, which just came out. There's new IP. They're talking about, Asia. They have a lot more stuff coming for Asia IP. And it's almost just like now it's hard to keep up with all the things that they aren't just talking about. They're actually delivering.
It feels good, right? And it's like, it's incredible too, because I was kind of concerned, like, especially about a year ago when I was seeing like all those other companies go down, like Recur and like, like even like the DC NFT stuff, like not Candy, but was HRO. And like, there's just like so many things where I'm like, oh my God, it's like why is this space, dismantling so quickly? And so to see VeVe like kind of like, pivot and then increase production and hire new people and do more, like it's impressive. And what I think they realize is that their community is so powerful that like they need to reinvest back into us. Because dude, like you've got so much knowledge, right? Like imagine everything that you're talking about today just being like, not on social media, like just confined in your own brain at home. It'd be such a tragedy. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, like through X, through like, now coming on my platform, through everything you've been doing on Spaces, etc. Like people get to know and they get to learn from you, and then they get to then use that insight for their collection. And it's really like this is what's driving this whole thing forward, because the core people that are here are enough to sustain the ecosystem. My big thing is like, how are we going to get new users? Because right now there's like literally no incentive. It's like, and it's hard to onboard somebody from scratch and like teach them about FAs if they haven't collected, or like, talk about the Veveverse and like you buy something, this is how you build something. Like what do you think that is? Because I'll be honest, like even though the affiliate program incentivizes new users, like let's say I get 100 new users, like now I'm getting paid actually, right? But for me to get that would be so challenging, because the people that are currently watching me already are in this ecosystem.
Yeah.
And if I do something that's like out there, like I almost need to be in a different field. Like the algorithms all wouldn't work, because as soon as you go outside of your algorithm, they don't like the views and everything are suppressed. So like, what do you think? Like, I know I said a lot there, but I'm just curious, like what you think of all that.
Yeah, I think it's great that we've kept our hardcore base, and there's people that definitely ride or die, and they're always gonna. I think there is a critical mass of people that it's great to know that they're just there. They're gonna play drops. They're gonna collect special mints. They're just having a blast no matter what. And to get outside of that, I have thought about what would be the easiest people to kind of convert to bring into VeVe, because I think a lot of us maybe got our brother, our dad, or a friend to try it out for a while, and they were like, I don't get it, but I'll play some drops or whatever. For a lot of them, just knowing that you can, if you win this drop, you might make $500 in, one click. They like that idea, but they don't really understand, what these NFTs are, what they do, or they're not usually going to look too deep into it. I think what helped a lot early on is a lot of people that came to VeVe were from crypto. They found Omi or they were in other projects and they found VeVe. So it made sense. They understood these are FAs, these are on the blockchain, why they're important. And I think what might be a good transition, and that's kind of why I think VeVe was natural to me, coming from the kind of the market of video games for a long time. I mean, there was a while when all I did every day was go to school, go to the gym, come home, and buy and sell and trade digital goods and video games. And I had amassed one of the biggest collections. I had like 10,000 trades in sale. It was crazy looking back that I did that. And then later I look at VeVe, I'm like, this is like the same. These are just digital items, but I actually own them, and they're some of the biggest IP in the world, and they're pieces of history, and I enjoy them more than just a hat or a skin or something. So to me, it felt like maybe gamers or people already familiar with digital items, it might take time to kind of slowly get them into it. But for a long time, I mean, the word NFT was like, you don't want to touch it. I mean, people just would lose their minds. I mean, Reddit in particular, they were like the most anti-NFT place I'd ever seen. And then they launched their own NFTs and they called them digital collectibles, and they did pretty well. People were happy with them. So I think that kind of goes to the brilliance of VeVe if they were quick to call them digital collectibles, because that kind of helps, I guess, ease the waters. But knowing what they are, I think is going to help people understand that you own this piece of history, you own this IP, you're getting a piece of Marvel when you buy this comic, or Disney when you buy this collectible. And it's not just, something that's, in your phone that just doesn't do anything, and you can buy and sell it like a stock or a token. But I think I would love to see them kind of tap more into that, because actually what's really important to companies and brands and corporations is the fact that they're carbon neutral actually is a big deal. I mean, I don't know if you've talked to other companies or corporate, that is a really, really big deal to them. And I think that's been VeVe's benefit to get some of these brands and these big IPs, is to know that they are carbon neutral NFTs, and that they have this diehard fandom that's just there waiting for them. I mean, you can probably say like, here's what we're going to do for your drop. Here's what we're thinking. You're probably going to sell out. And they're happy to hear that. Not only to sell at a drop, but there's 500 people, 5,000 people that are going to probably hold and enjoy their items into the future. And so I think to me, it's probably a little bit easier to get gamers who are familiar with digital stuff to get involved, or people who have maybe are just younger, familiar with digital goods to get involved, but they might not have the biggest pocketbooks yet. They might not be those people who are going to spend a lot of money. I think it's just one of the things, it just takes time. I don't know the first time you start to learn about crypto and Web3, it just takes time to kind of go through your brain, like, what am I doing? What am I buying? And I think that consistent exposure will help, because of course we could pay an influencer to blow it out and throw it out, but I don't think that would last. We'd have a spike and then things would probably fall off. But the fact that we have the US government and other countries getting more friendly to the word just digital assets and digital collectibles will slowly kind of help build that, because I think you probably heard from sales it takes anywhere from 5 to 7 or 9 times to touch somebody before they kind of get it and make a decision. So I think it's just going to be that consistent thing that we're here, here's what they are, it's a thing. And then when people decide to spend some money, they're probably going to look to VeVe. I mean, that's one thing I've seen in other projects, is they're all striving to build a brand, to build a community, to stay relevant. And then I look, I'm like, VeVe has all these things. They have all the brands, they have, the diehard community, they already have everything there. So, why take the risk with these things that kind of come and go versus, kind of sticking with what's tried and true. So I think it'll take time, but I do hope they continue to kind of tap in and reach out to Web3 and crypto people in general, because they are going to understand, why is this Batman worth $850 versus this other one's worth $15? Like, why do I care? They'll understand FA, blockchain, scarcity, all those things.
Wow, you're on fire today, brother. It's so interesting that you say that all this stuff, because it's like, that's how I know it's all this knowledge is so ingrained with us, when we could look at a collectible on VeVe and be like, oh yeah, that should only be $15 and it's Batman, like you said, and this should be 1,000 and it's Batman. And people are like, how does that even make sense? And like it's like you can almost like write an algorithm in your own head predicting what something will be in terms of value, just based, okay, is this FA? How popular is it? What edition size is it? Like, there's all these like elements that come to rationing these decisions. But I find it so interesting how that's like ingrained into this community. Like a lot of the people that have been here are just like, oh yeah, that's probably gonna be about like $50 on drop. This will go like, and it's just, it's like, there's something special about this where there's so much to talk about. And even for me, like I'm like you know, we were just talking before the show, like, you know, I've been busy with my personal life. Like having a kid has been really, you know, change just like my priorities, right? Like I
Mhm.
at night it's like, okay, I'm putting her to bed, or I'm doing something with my wife because I don't have much time with her. You know, we moved homes, but like VeVe's just always there. Like it's just always something that's interesting. Like I always just want to keep on top of it because I'm like, oh, what's dropping, or like, you know, what are people talking about, or like, or what's the Veveverse implications now? Like there's just so many things. It's like a huge ecosystem, and
Yeah. I think there's more
right.
verticals that they're hitting, right? I mean, it's not just, I think for some people, they just think about the drops, but now there's Veveverse, which is its own separate thing. There's comics, which kind of is its own separate thing. Then there's the collectibles. The cool thing I think about comics is kind of like an established thing. There's history, there's a physical match. So that's why it's cool to get something that has, you know, is really worth a lot in real life or scarce. You get the
Mm,
digital version. But for the collectibles themselves, there really isn't any cap. There's no roadmap. They're going to be worth as much as people decide they're worth, which is kind of cool that they're kind of this untapped sector. And then, you know, looking into the VeVeverse, I think they did a pretty good job of nailing that. It's easy to use if you've ever played
mm.
with like 3ds Max or AutoCAD or other like game or map makers. It is very basic and easy to pick up. But even if you have no experience, you can start making some pretty cool stuff really soon with a couple, you know, tutorials or talk to some people. But the collectibles and the comics themselves look really, really good, like really good. So it doesn't
Right.
take much to put down a couple things, add a light, you know, add some materials, drop in a collectible, and now you have this amazing looking scene. And I've been enjoying looking on the timeline, seeing people make some really cool stuff, and they've never ever used anything or been artistic or whatever. And you know, they're having a blast with, you know, their collectibles and their comics. And yeah, I think they're nailing different verticals, and it's going to be cool to see over time, you know, what takes off and what does the most. And I think it's always kind of interesting to me to see that the outsiders who I know will love us, but they're not here yet. They're not aware of us. And as soon as they find out, they're gonna go crazy. And now they're part of our community. And you know, one of us. We keep bringing them in one at a time.
Oh, that's amazing. And I know we're gonna walk through some of the stuff that you had prepared, but like what do you think the biggest like value add is now to these NFTs? Is it that these collectibles now look better? Is it that like people can showcase them in ways that they couldn't before? They can now potentially monetize their efforts, where like somebody pays, I guess, a few gems to walk into their, you know, completed like city or whatever it is that they're
Mhm.
building. Um, like how does this benefit the collectors? Like because I've heard from some whales that they just don't have the time to go in there and like start building things from scratch, and like they're just like, you know what, like I don't know if this is worth my time. I'd rather just continue to collect things, and like maybe somebody else can build this for me.
Mhm.
But I think they enjoy, like, you know, going in there and doing a few things. But I'm just like wondering, you know, back because really my biggest interest in this is value. Like I find it interesting to think like, you know, is this all just for fun, or how, you know, how does this something arise into an entity that's like wanted and by millions? You know what I mean? Like how does that
Yeah.
happen? Um, so yeah, what's your take on that?
I think it's unique, and I think again to their genius, they, you know, they called it, you know, collectors at heart. And there is something about collecting that it's just really fun to be part of the chase and to go for things and to, you know, hunt for your mint number or complete your set or get something you didn't think you can get. And that is really, really fun. And you know, back when I was doing more of the video game collecting and trading, the collecting part was extremely addicting. I was constantly chasing people down and offering and, you know, outbidding people and, you know, paying more than I thought and holding this for this long. And you know, I did really, really well in there. But even now, looking back, some of the stuff, I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect that. So part of the unknown, I think, is fun. And so I don't think any of us know. Is it going to be the social aspect of the VeVeverse? Is it going to be all these cool exclusive clubs? You know, there's a Mile High Club, there's a Golden Silver Logo Club, there's a Marvel Club. It sounds like coming, and all these things kind of bring you unique experiences. There's also, you know, the fact that you can show them off. There's the social flexing. I think there's just so many parts of it that we don't know what'll have the biggest impact. But the part of chasing, I think, is really, really powerful, of wanting to just I mean, I think we're all probably guilty of more and more and more, especially when you see,
Right.
your comics or collectibles slowly going up, or your total sets going up. So like, okay, one more. Okay, let me get to this level. Let me get to level this level. One more. And that is, I think, part of the fun as well. So I think prices will do their thing. But being part of chasing things and collecting things is just kind of a human thing that, yeah, it's hard to fight that.
Right. Man, that's such a good insight. I actually learned more about that. My background, I did a master's in neuroscience, and one of the things that we looked at is like with like evolutionary biology is where essentially when hunter gatherers were like kind of like looking for food, if they ever stopped and just like relaxed and they would get bored and they would obviously like die because the problems needed to consistently be solved to survive. So I think that's part of the reason why in our, genome, so to speak, we're like always on the move, like looking for the next best thing, trying to get this, trying to get that. Like it's almost like part of the human condition, which I think is so cool. And I watched a few podcasts on this exact thing, and that's why casinos and like TikTok and all these algorithms just screw with they hack our behavior, right? Which is so crazy.
And I
But
think that kind of ties into
yeah.
pride of ownership, right? I mean, why do you want the nice
Mm,
car? Is it just to show off to people? Maybe for some people, but part of it is the chase to say, I worked hard, I saved up, and I got my dream car. I think
right.
that kind of pride of wanting to show off things. And I mean, I think for a lot of people, VeVe made them physical collectors. I didn't really collect very much physical until VeVe. I had cards and toys back in the day and a couple things here and there. But it wasn't until VeVe I have a decent little stack of, graded comics now and physicals and statues, things I probably would have never got, if it weren't for VeVe. It introduced me to that whole thing. So again,
Mm.
it's kind of pride to know that you found it, you looked for it, you earned it, you achieved it. You can kind of check that box and now move on to the next thing.
Right. And like you said it best earlier, like when like I was collecting all this stuff more in depth, like I remember just getting retweeted or like by like huge accounts or getting in that Lamborghini video, like that whole announcement, like my AR video was in there and everyone was like, dude, I think that's you know what I mean? And it's like so exciting.
Oh
And like
yeah.
you said, it goes beyond like because you're getting so much social interaction from something, like it's even almost more so than a car. Like if I'm being honest, like if that was more of a consistent thing that we saw, like without the big rise and fall, I would probably invest more of my money into digital collectibles like exclusively because I know I'm going to get more back. I'm going to get more social back. I'm going to get more value back. I'm going to get so many more things than just like a nice car, So I feel like you said it like earlier too. Like if we're walking around in augmented reality and we're able to show our digital collectibles at our home or different places, or they're walking beside us if it's an avatar, what have you, like that is the ultimate flex because in real time everyone is seeing you
Yeah.
with that, right? Like that's almost better than a car. Like it's literally like you're showcasing something in real time, like in a busy subway, let's say, or like at work, or you're a salesperson and you're trying to show your value, and it's like, well, look, I have $2-3 million of collectibles standing behind me right now, like,
Yeah, it's kind of an untapped emerging market. We don't know how
right.
big or how high, and there's things that are just going to be extremely hard to get. And I think it's another human nature. You want things that are hard to get. You want things that are difficult, right? Because again, you kind of have that pride of you achieved it, you earned it, you got it now. You can proudly show it off and enjoy it with other people. And yeah, I think the cool thing about VeVe is whether you want to collect a bunch of, $1 and $2 comics, you can go crazy. Whether you want to collect certain IP and complete sets, you can. Or if you, want to really go hard and long term and see it more as a speculative investment and collect grails, I mean, there's a whole way to do that too. So it's kind of something for everybody.
Man, it's so cool, man. Now listen, I know we've been chatting, like I didn't even expect to chat with you this much. I know we wanted to get into the VV-verse right away, but do you think we could pull up some of the stuff
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
yeah,
I'll
and maybe
start off
walk.
with this when you're ready.
Cool, yeah.
So this one here, if you're not familiar,
Oh,
was just made for me by Veveversum or Veveverum.
oh,
I'll show
that's
some more of us
amazing.
here. So, anyways, he's been making custom stuff for people in the Veveverse. So this is the one he made for me for the VeVe Gold and Silver logo club. It has VeVe on here. It collects the heart, has my mint number, and then on the back it has your name. So
Damn.
this is one piece that I can wear. There's a T-shirt. There's a hoodie. He has a bunch of stuff. Actually, I'll show you here. So here's some more of his kind of a breakdown of the hoodies that he made.
Oh,
I'll give you guys up here is his tag VV Versum. But he
Amazing.
does other stuff like this. He's got AF15 and all this other kind of stuff on here. So actually, I was going to pitch you the idea. I already mentioned it to him. I said, hey, well, if you're interested, I'm sure people would be happy to donate and support you. If you want to make one for the Miles High Club, I'll
Oh
pitch it to
yeah.
you. So he said he would love to do it. I told him no promises, but I think this would be cool to have something.
Wow.
I literally just threw in Grok AI. I said, type cool logo, Miles High Club, and just give me something to look at. So
Oh
this
my
is just
God,
something
that's
I thought.
pretty good.
I know. I was like, actually, this might be worth putting on a T-shirt. Maybe we could put Miles' head here or something like that. Um,
Wow.
but it
Man,
reminded me of kind of the clubs, right? These exclusive clubs and groups and communities that are building are really, really cool.
dude, that's so cool, man. Like, see, this is what I'm interested in, like, because like right away now we're already seeing this come to fruition. By the way, that's pretty good for Grok. It even has like the purple in
Yeah.
there, which we try to like, embellish into what we're doing. So that's so cool. Um, so what does that look like? Like is it only how does it, only certain people can get that exclusive wear, and then you can apply it in the Veveverse? Like what? How does that work? Like does he
Yeah. So
send it to you, or like?
so the creator, I believe you have to have a developer account, which I don't have because I think they're moving over to Ready Player Zero, which is a little bit different. But in Ready
Okay,
Player Me, if you have a developer account, you can create custom images, put stuff on here. So basically, he makes them. You reach out to him, and then he'll give you a link with everyone else's as well. So I can actually see the other gold logo people. You apply it to your character, and then you go through here and you would save it at the very top here after you kind of design them out how you want to. And then it gives you a link. That link you copy and paste in your Veveverse on your avatar, and then now that's kind of your permanent character. But yeah, it's pretty cool. You
yeah,
can put hats on there and all kinds of crazy stuff. But Fish just has some custom stuff. I know other people. I believe there's some comic collectors that are making custom stuff. But yeah, I think Miles High Club would be a good one for the group.
that's crazy. I love that, man.
And then I also
Yeah.
brought over some just cool. If you haven't seen the Twitter
Wow.
feed or the X feed is just going wild with people making stuff. So these range from all over, from people who have never played with a program like this to people who have some more experience. But you can just see people are having a blast. And this is actually a custom jacket as well. Someone made Mint Hunters right here.
Wow.
But this is kind of the first time people can showcase, in a major setting and see all their waltz together. Their Spider-Mans, they got a self-made, they got some Rizzos here,
The
so
HQ19 looks sexy. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, just these are things that you could kind of only look at your phone. In VR, they looked cool, but you couldn't really do a lot with the VR, or excuse me, the AR. Besides, look at one thing at a time. But being able to put them in here and play with the settings, I mean, they look really, really good.
Wow.
Here's the first one I made. I haven't had a chance to play with it much, but when
Oh,
I first
killer.
got access, I said I have to make something. So I made this kind of San Diego garage kind of thing, and Miles is showing off his cars. And
Uh,
this was my first stab at it, but I think the
I
thing that
love it.
helps a lot, yeah, thanks. The thing that helps a lot is play with the lighting and play with the materials, because the default lighting is pretty bright and ambient. It kind of washes stuff out, and the default materials or textures are pretty big. So you have to scale the textures down and play with the lighting, and you can get kind of more dramatic lighting like this, looking like it's dawn or nighttime, and get some more shadows and stuff.
So how long would that take you? Like right here, like let's say this scene, like is then like I guess to be fair, you already have like a kind of a background in this stuff. So I feel like you'd be quicker than like let's say somebody just starting off from scratch. But what is the timeline there?
Yeah, I had played with AutoCAD a little bit, 3D Max, and as long back as I can remember, like Counter
Right.
Strike, even PlayStation. Sometimes they would come with like a map maker, like a level editor, and you could put blocks together and make stuff. Um, so for me, this was my first time playing with it. So getting used to the UI and what you can and can't do took some time. But I would say this maybe took 2.5 hours. But if I did it now, this
Not
might
bad.
take me 30, 45 minutes just because I'm more familiar with it. Once you get going, it is pretty fast. And that is one thing I kind of I think they're gonna continue to update, is just giving tools to people to just move faster. Because right now you can't group things and copy things. You can't play with certain materials the way you'd want to do, or lock things how you'd want to lock them. You kind of have to manually do every piece by piece. So it's a little bit slower, but you can do it. It just takes a little bit more time. But
To be honest, that's better than I thought. Like I thought maybe like five, like that would probably take me like 4 weeks, but like I could see like 2.5 hours, like maybe even 5 hours. Like I feel like if that's your main showcase for somebody, like that's not bad. That's pretty solid.
yeah, and I think that there is a learning curve. So if you have no experience with 3D editors, then there is a bit of a learning curve to kind of wrap your head around it. But once you kind of get the basics, you're going to move pretty fast. So like I said, now if I jumped in here, this could probably be like, I don't know, 45 minutes. But the cool thing is you can make scenes, and I kind of recommend like Kid Arcade did here. Instead of making this giant house and all this stuff and spending 2 weeks trying to make this huge environment you can walk in, just make a really cool scene, something that doesn't take as long, but it's whether it's a scene from a movie or just whatever you want to do. So I like this one because he's playing with the light and the green and this kind of like neon effect. You can see the metal metallic reflections here. And yeah, this is just one little clip out of a bigger space, and some really, really cool stuff you can make.
Wow. That's killer, because it just like accentuates how valuable and cool that collectible looks, right? Like now I want Doctor Doom just because of this this picture, right? Like that's so killer.
Yeah, and that's what I think. There probably will be some people that are collecting stuff, like you said, just because they actually look really cool now, whether it's the cars or golden moments or certain things that you can't fully appreciate looking at a small screen like on your phone or maybe on your computer. Now getting them in the Veveverse and playing around or walking up to them and blowing them up as big as you want is definitely a lot of fun.
Wow.
I have another one here. This is from John. I like this one because he played a lot with the lighting. So I'm kind of a sucker for cool lighting, and you can see he's got different stuff going on here, and obviously some really nice collectibles as well. But like these are from the villa. So if you actually just want to make cool stuff without having to start from scratch, you can open up Veveverse, go to the villa that's pre-made. There's one that's furnished and unfurnished, and just start dropping stuff in there and just, see what you can do. There's different rooms. There's an outdoor, there's an indoor, and yeah, you can make some really cool stuff with what I gave you so far.
And what's so amazing about this is like, I know we're seeing like kind of a theme with like the waltz and stuff, but like I'm also like loving the Mickey posters in the background, like just seeing different things being showcased. Like that would just be so much fun to just like walk around. And because VeVe's ecosystem is big now, and like the catalog of like or digital collectibles is huge, I forget what's in the app sometimes, right? Like
yeah,
like I forget what I'm scrolling into. Like it's just everything's crashing. And so I'm like, this would be so cool just to like actually like see that blown up a lot bigger in your face, to look at it more, understand it better. Like that's really neat.
Yeah, and so a lot of these are like real world, like a house or a studio or a mansion or a room. But people are making some pretty trippy stuff of these giant, mazes, and you're in space. And I mean, one of them I haven't made yet. I want to make like the Great Wall of Comics, which is just these enormous, giant, tall, long wall just stacked with comics. That looks ridiculous, but something you would maybe dream about, or put in AI and get some crazy image. But yeah, you can make some really cool stuff, and I think being able to just finally showcase the stuff you've enjoyed is really fun.
Wow.
This one here is Mr. Falcon, which I like because he's he's playing with the lighting again and the spheres up top, and it looks like he's got more to fill out in here. But again, it's kind of a showcasing reflections, different materials, whether it's windows, the spheres up here, the shelves over there, and Mr. Falcon's been making cool stuff for a long time. But
that's killer.
Yeah, I think one that's I got because it's a pretty good example. I think. Hopefully, there's no sound. This is just a VeVe collectible. There's nothing else added to this. It's literally just playing the VeVe collectible in the Veveverse. So if you don't really have the time or talent to just go through and again make stuff from scratch and learn about materials and lighting and all that stuff, you can buy really cool stuff on there and just start making some really nice scenes. But
how amazing is that, right? That like this is what you own, and now you can show it in a whole different way than what it was before. Is there any AI prompts that you think will start to happen, like where you could be like, build me this, put like these 5 characters in, like, or do you think that's maybe like a while away?
They have talked about them. I think David had brought it up, and I forget who was. Someone else brought it up. They are looking to implement AI in certain aspects. I don't believe there's any tools for it yet. There is a premium version that I think only the beta testers have, so I don't have like access to all the tools, but I don't believe there is one yet. But I do think they're looking at something like that. Maybe you type in grass with mud or something, and it makes a material for you. Or maybe you type in, make a certain scene, and it gives you just the basic building blocks of a scene that you want to do. It sounds like they're interested in it, and I could see that helping speed up the process. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt it that there is some kind of AI integration in the future.
Nice.
This one I liked here again because the lighting. This is from my buddy Digital Vibes, which used to be VeVe Vibes until they have their own VeVe Vibes. But I helped him take this picture, but I love the idea He just said, "Hey, can you jump in my space and help me take this picture?" And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was. This was like his first time playing in it too. And I came in here and I was like, dude, this looks sick. It's these stormtroopers in this dark forest. And they hear some rustling in the forest. They start shooting into the forest, and their lasers here from their guns light up this dinosaur kind of in the background, this T-Rex.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
This
And
is like a mix of like Star Wars and Jurassic Park or something. It's crazy.
yeah. And so I can imagine a scene, right, in a movie or a video game. They're trotting through the forest, they hear some rumbling, and they start shooting, and all of a sudden this dinosaur lights up, right? And so it was kind of fun to watch him play with this and learn how it works, and moving trees around and kind of getting the right angle. And again, this is his first stab at it, and just kind of playing around with making a cool scene. So
that's so impressive.
yeah, I'm definitely a fan of Jurassic Park and Star Wars, so it was fun to see, like you said, that kind of overlap or collaboration.
Yeah.
This one here you probably heard about. I don't know if you saw the actual post from Go Collect, but
no, I didn't see the actual post.
There's people making comic book stores and their Veveverse. You can go in there and talk to people and buy them, and it's really cool. So this is kind of a snapshot of the corner from California Comics, and I believe,
saw his post.
Yeah,
that was insane. Like, and he always talked about it, and then like as soon as it happened, he's like I'm doing it right now, and it looked great. So
yeah, because you probably remember years ago people saying that they want to be a store in the Veveverse for comics or hoverboards or cars or whatever it is. And it's still early, of course, but people are starting to do stuff like that. And if you sell one of these, so say this got sold in the market, it would just disappear off the shelves. It's gone.
Wow.
So it's
so how would that work then? So he would have it just listed. All these are like listed, and then they just like, if somebody buys it from him, then like, would they be able to enter his place kind of thing? Like, how would that work?
I think right now, I haven't talked to him specifically, but I think it's more of a showcase. And then you would probably go on and look at his profile or look at the things he has for sale or negotiate maybe. One of the things I would hope in the future that you could quickly look up on here, like to see the MIT numbers or the history, things like that. That is one thing in other metaverses. You can kind of click on an item and it'll take you to like the OpenSea page, and you can look at the Etherscan to see like what's the sales and all this other stuff. We don't have that yet, but you can put text on here to say like what the MIT number is or something like that. But if you have 50 of the same comic, it's probably more to showcase one of them, like a secret rare or rare or whatever, and then you would go kind of figure out which one that you want to buy. But to see digital comic book stores I thought was something pretty cool. And there's definitely cool people that are, like you said earlier, getting commissioned to do this. I know Collectors Gone Digital and some other people are, have had pretty big accounts contact them, like you said, and say, I don't have time or the energy to do this, but I want to make something really epic, and then come to a deal on payment and, make some masterpiece for you. And that's kind of been my idea too, or my vision is to, I would love to make like a Miles High club room, like on a sports club room, and everyone's got like their cutout. No, this is Collectors Gone Digital. I'll showcase it.
Nice.
Yeah, so he made this and then he redid the textures and kind of did an overhaul. But he made like kind of at least to me, the kind of the full first person to make a full kind of space like this loft showcasing different types of.
So nice. Look at that with the signatures. Oh man.
Yeah, there's a place where you spawn. I believe there's some instructions, an elevator. Then you go into his loft here, and you can kind of see everything from there.
And he made all this from scratch.
Yeah, I think I forgot exactly when he started it, but yeah.
That's wild, man. That looks insane.
Yeah, his current one that he's working on, I believe, is like a mansion, like an oceanside mansion, and it's still pretty early stages, but that should be a good one too.
See, the thing that bothers me so much is there's so many good people like you and like this guy that like, if like with the right attention coming back to the platform, like you'd have like 100K subs. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, because this is epic. Like, this is so much effort, so much creativity, so much skill. Like, this is really good, man. Look at that.
Yeah, and again, like some of the stuff can be done with some pretty basic, shapes and materials and lighting, but once you spend, that's what I always thought, like, I can't wait to see someone who spends 80 hours on one space or spends 200 hours on like one room. And that's when you're going to see some really, really insane stuff. But even if you just want to make, something cool, like you saw with Star Wars or Jurassic Park, or show off a statue, there's just so many ways to kind of enjoy the Veveverse right now, and I think that's
Mm.
cool that we're finally touching on sort of the metaverse aspect, right? Because I've played with some of the other metaverses. I'm not sure if you have too, but
Yeah, like Sandbox and those things you're saying?
yeah, they're pretty bare, they're pretty basic, and
Yeah.
they kind of get old pretty quick, and the populations aren't so great. So I think Veveverse is going to be a great position for the social aspect, but then also the actual technology and digital items themselves look really, really good.
So I totally agree. I mean, this is impressive, and the coolest part is that like now your amazing collection can now be showcased in the best way possible, right? So it just adds that element to it. But what are we looking at right now? Is this like just a big showroom, like almost like a video game, like you're just like an open world kind of like you're creating things, or is this like you can have up to 60 people walking around in your place and you could chat? What is the extent of it so far?
Yeah. So if you want, we can do like another time, maybe kind of a walkthrough, or maybe for a
Yeah.
fun video in the future, you might do like your first time in the VVverse and kind of do stuff. But basically, what you can do is people can invite you to their VVverse. So if you open it up, you'll see people who've invited you to theirs. You can walk around, you can fly through the sky, you can, I believe, invite up to 30 people. There's a chat in the right corner. There's a video and voice. I've seen people use
Wow.
like their phone or their webcam to kind of broadcast video in there, kind of like we're doing here. The voice sounds good. So there definitely is a social aspect to it. People have been doing YouTube streams and even Twitter spaces in the VVverse kind of like at the same time.
Amazing.
Um, yeah, I think the creator aspect, not just as the person who like made the space, but I'm hoping that they allow more access to invite people and give them creator access to add either their own items or add the owner's items. Because as of right now, if I made a space and invited you, you can't really add other stuff unless I own it.
Yeah.
So you can kind of build with what I already put there, but you can't add my items or your items, because that's I think going to unlock some really cool doors, and people can make like a general social hub, and everybody adds whatever their
Right.
TODs or their walls, and it's this massive, you can imagine like a giant long dark tunnel with these dramatic lights, and it's just full of partner statues, or it's full of
I was just thinking
whatever.
that. Like
Yeah,
if you had like the gold logo like club or whatever, and you put like you just stacked them and you had like, let's say 90% of the collection in there. Do you know what I'm trying to say? It's just like that's such a
yeah.
cool thing. Yeah. And imagine that. Like imagine you made it exclusive where like no eyes could ever see those gold logos except within that club. You know what I mean? Like just like so cool.
Yeah, you could, yeah, unless you're invited, you wouldn't be able to see it. And I
Yeah.
think it's capped at 30. I'm guessing premium and other future updates will add more. Right now there isn't a central hub, so when you load it up, you just either have to make your own invite people, or other people, ask them to be invited to theirs. But people are cool. If you look on X, people are posting screenshots, and usually they're cool if you just say, "Hey, here's my handle. Can you invite me?" And they'll invite you, and you can hang out in there, take screenshots, walk around. So
Wow, man. And I also see like I guess like the content evolving now, right? Like for instance, like we could have this same chat in the VeVeverse and just record it, could we not? Or I
yeah,
guess we would
you
use
absolutely could.
StreamYard and yeah, right? Could we do that? Like would it be like maybe I would still use StreamYard and then just have you like have your collection in the background, I guess, and we could like use our avatars simultaneously. I don't know.
Yeah, there is in the VVverse there is a way to put up different what do you call them, like posters, I guess, or one of them is you can draw, like if you're going to do Scrabble. One of them is you could play like YouTube videos, and there's another one for
Mm.
streaming. I haven't been able to do it myself, but I know there's ways to put up different boards in there, and you can watch a movie together. You could play a stream together, like you said. You can listen to music and hang out together. Yeah, there's ways to integrate that.
Dude, you just got my mind blowing up with ideas now because I'm like, imagine like even if we had like let's say 10 to 12 people from the Miles High Club, right? Having like an exclusive conversation together that was recorded, then you could like, because these are all like big dogs, right? Like a lot of I mean, you and I, well, actually more me. Sorry, I forgot how many things that you have. But like for me, I'm more of like your average Joe. And so for it's like a honor to have people like you in that club and other big dogs, right? And so like I think people would be interested if they can't get access into something like that, they'd probably be interested in like content from it. So
Yeah,
imagine then you sell, I mean maybe not sell, but like maybe like let's just say like I use a premium subscription or something for people to watch content in the Miles High Club, almost like a voyeur. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like I'm just thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
It's like there's so many cool things that can start to come from this, man.
Yeah, or you can think about exclusive interviews or content. And I know independent artists, and I kind of thought because Sanjay and Sleepin had talked about doing something maybe for a Marvel group, so I kind of imagined
Oh, that's cool.
them spending like a lot of time, or maybe commissioning someone to make a really really cool like movie theater or some kind of special Marvel space, and then people who own whatever their threshold is for the logos that are part of the club can go in there and maybe get first peek at things, whether it's an interview with an artist or an actor, or just anything like that, any kind of exclusive stuff that kind of helps connects people's passion. I think, yeah, but I think the clubs and the communities are going to be a big part of the social aspect in the
Right.
VeVeverse.
Wow. And do you feel as though like people kind of have to keep up within the VeVeverse to stay relevant, like channels, creators, like collectors, or do you think that there's still like different camps kind of thing where people could not use the VeVeverse and still just love collecting, or do you feel like kind of like people, I guess, should start to shift to start to be like, okay, like I should probably, because like I bet you a lot of people that are watching this right now, they might not have even like similar to me, like hardly peeked into it. Do you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say?
And some
Yeah.
people, their computer, or they just can't. It's not going to be really hit. It's not going to hit the minimum requirements, or it's not going to really run so great. So there's
Right.
kind of that barrier. I know they are releasing the mobile version pretty soon, which should be good. Um,
Mm.
I think it's just kind of another aspect where it's going to give people to shine, because there's been the Vaultaholics and these other collector or builders that have kind of been working with the app on the mobile, trying to make stuff, and now they kind of have bigger, better tools, and we're seeing new people come to life and making these amazing scenes. So I think that'll kind of help maybe let some people stand out. But I think there's something for everyone. I mean, there's still people who just kind of do drops. There's people who talk about the market. There's people who talk more about special mint collecting. I think there's just going to be another branch of people who talk more about VeVeverse stuff and Metaverse related stuff. But yeah, I would encourage everyone to at least jump in there, try it out, play with it.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be some more events coming up in the future where people are hosting things or asking just to come stop by. If I make some stuff, I'll probably post it and ask for people if they want to be invited to something I made or seen to come in there. But yeah, it's weird to see something just large and beautiful and sparkling and high fidelity versus looking at your phone of like, yeah, this R2D2 is cool, but it's just this little thing on my phone, right? But now to be able to put it somewhere and watch it move and beep, some of this stuff is like movie quality. I mean, they look really, really good.
Wow. Man, where's your YouTube channel, dude? I feel like you got so much knowledge. You're so good at this stuff. I feel like, we need to hear more of you, dude.
With this affiliate program, I don't know, I might have to start throwing out some videos or something, or make
Yeah,
a Discord or
exactly.
something. I do think it would be great if there was kind of like one major hub where with other projects, you've probably seen where they'll raid stuff. So like what happened recently is Gary
Mm.
Vee posted about, what do you like to collect? And he said Batman, Superman, or Spider-Man. And I looked in the comments, I'm like, where's VeVe? So I posted in there like, dude, all of them, and they're all on VeVe, and they're all first appearance, kind of showing VeVe and showing some love.
Right.
And then the armies came in, and VeVe's posting everywhere and sharing and liking each other's stuff. So I was like, man, that'd be so cool if we had a spot to like, to bring awareness and shout out, to kind of, they call it rating. You'll see in the Discords or other projects where they say, hey, let's go
I've seen
show
that.
love to this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it boosts the algorithms and everything. Like, that's a good idea because I feel like I've had to do so much of that in the past where like I market everything like through all the different platforms and then like going to different people and it's like it's so tedious,
Yeah.
And it's not just like anybody's content. Like, and there's so much content being developed right now. That's what I've noticed. Like, there's some really high quality YouTubers and like space like hostess and things like that that are like doing stuff now that aren't getting the recognition in my opinion. So like it would be cool to like hyper concentrate on some of their stuff and really get their message out there,
Yeah. And I think that, you've probably heard, just narrative calls price, or just price, dictate narrative. And I think that once once the numbers start to go up, you're going to get a new fresh batch of people, or people have been on the sidelines. And then all of a sudden there's going to be all these new talking faces and heads, and, you know, people who are excited. So I think it's good, like you said, to kind of remember the people who stuck here through it, or the OGs, or the people that, you know, put in that time. Because for a lot of people, it still is a passion, right? It's a hobby that they enjoy, being part of the community and giving back. And, but yeah, if there's ways for them to monetize it. So I would love, you know, for people that have been around and putting out content, whether it's YouTube or Twitter Spaces, you know, to get some good kickbacks and rewarded, you know, whether it's the affiliate program or people donating OMI to them in the future, in some way, maybe, or stopping by their Veveverse space and, you know, hooking them up, or donating there. I think any kind of way to kind of give back would be good, but it's, yeah, it's exciting times. And I just think that VeVe they're moving quick, which is what people really want in the crypto space, to move really quickly. And it's kind of one of those things I've always said, you know, early on, that VeVe's kind of this lightning in a bottle that could become something really, really big. And I don't know the future. I do, like I said, enjoy speculative investing in emerging markets, but there's just so much cool stuff happening that, yeah, tap into the community, keep your head to the ground, and try to keep up, because there's a lot of stuff happening.
Man, we need to hear more of your voice, dude. So guys, if you haven't, you know, followed Pixel Trader yet, all his stuff is in the description below. Make sure to follow him on X. We did a space before. We had a great time. We intended to do, I think, a show, and then, you know, got postponed till now, which is amazing. But yeah, just blown away by your insights. And like, this is why I love just being able to, like, you know, learn more from different people in the community. And like, just like, there's so many smart, talented people in here. Like, I don't know, man, I just feel like so honored that you're able to come on and just kind of share all this stuff that's been in that big brain of yours. So I'm like, you know, I'm excited for people to kind of like take this in and kind of move forward with some some kind of like some new insights. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you. You know, I know you might take breaks here and there and your life is busy, but I appreciate you putting out when you can, because I've always loved the podcast platform and just be able to talk to people long form and go deep and cover a lot of things. And like you said, there's so many cool people in this space. I mean, sometimes I'll hear from Sanjay or someone on Twitter. I'm like, this person's in VeVe too. Like, that's nuts. Or did you know who I met at this event? Or do you know who also collects secretly, but that you never know it? And it's like, yeah. And it's kind of all fun because we're all connected through this fandom. It's kind of what brought us together, right? Same in real life, if you're a sneakerhead or, you know, a car junkie, you meeting people on the trail, there's something that connects you and kind of builds that friendship. So we're all together on this wild journey. You know, who knows what's going to happen, but it feels like the world's going digital and we're here early, and it's fun to be part of it together.
You nailed it, dude. Thanks so much for coming on, man. I'm definitely having you back soon enough. So get ready when you hear your phone dinging. All right.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, buddy.